All right, I am thrilled to be here with you both today. Let's get right into it. Charlamagne, I'd love if you could take us back. So I think it was almost 5 years ago to the day that you guys started the Black Effect Podcast Network. So what was your vision when you first thought about starting that? Why was it needed?
It was COVID. It was 2020. So, COVID was a time where all of us were, forced to be still. And, they say in the Bible, they said, just be still and know God. And so I just had all of these different ideas coming to me. And one of them was for a podcast network because I don't know if a lot of people knew, I was already a part owner of a podcast network before called the Loudspeaker Network. And I was just sitting around looking at all of these different podcasts that had black hosts, but they didn't necessarily have a home. And I was looking at what Bill Simmons was doing with The Ringer or what, Portnoy was doing with Barstool. And I'm like, man, that would be really cool if we all had a space that we could call our own. So that's where the idea for, the Black Effect Podcast Network came from.
And Dollie, you were brought on as president. So walk us through what kind of has been your big investments to make it like a sustainable business and grow it.
Yeah, I mean, the talent, the partnerships, with our original program that we've launched since day one, that's what's been sustaining the Black Effect Podcast Network. The voices that we amplify and elevate across the network is what sustains the network, or the podcast network. And, our amazing partnership with iHeart. They're amazing partners. They support us in all the ways from marketing to sales and all the good things. The machine that is iHeart really is the heartbeat. Ooh. Bars that keeps us alive. It's just a great dance amongst all the things that keeps it going and thriving.
I feel so rude too. Hello.
I know. I literally was like,
yeah.
I sat down and waited.
It's nice to have a live audience, right? Not just be behind a mic. So as you mentioned, Charlamagne, it was 2020 when you started it, and I believe it was a 5-year deal. So your renewal is coming up with iHeart. Do you plan to renew?
What's so interesting about 2020? That it was COVID, right? And so being that it was COVID, everybody that I reached out to said yes to the Black Effect Podcast Network. And that's why we were able to launch with 20 plus, 20 plus different podcasts. But that's crazy you knew that.
I was gonna say, how do you know this?
Because when the press release says it was a 5-year deal, and the press release came out December 2020, and we're almost there.
Guys, Kerry can read.
Kerry can read.
That's amazing.
You've learned anything today. So I don't think you answered my question.
Yeah. We call that the weave, I learned.
The bob and weave.
Saw Donald Trump say that on Flagrant, the weave.
So we don't...
She's waiting for
Dollie, can you answer the question?
Can you repeat the question?
The question is, your deal with iHeart expires at the end of this year. Are you going to renew with iHeart?
Why not?
I don't like to talk business. It's not the place to talk business.
Yeah, I mean, we're having a lot of fun.
Media conference.
We have a lot of time to decide that. So we'll let you know December 31st at 11:59 p.m.
See,
Good answer.
What you guys are kind of alluding, though, is that you're talking around. Like, your options are...
No, I'm not alluding to nothing.
Okay.
I said I'm weaving.
Now you're doing the Dougie.
There are options outside of iHeart. It seems to be what we're hearing. So what I'm wondering, though, you did mention before, Dollie, that iHeart has a lot of support. There's this machine.
Yes.
So what does iHeart provide, from your understanding, that another company can't?
iHeart is the... Oh, go ahead.
We haven't figured it out yet. What's that?
No, I was going to say iHeart is the largest audio conglomerate in the country. There is nobody that does audio better than iHeart. And contrary to popular belief, podcasting is an audio medium. I know everybody's, running to the visual now and, running to YouTube, but that's a different version of what an actual podcast is. A podcast is you on your phone, going to that Apple Podcast app or Spotify or the iHeartRadio app and listening to an actual podcast. And I mean, when you have a company that is so good in audio because of all of the different radio stations they have, the great radio talent that they have, from myself to Bobby Bones to Elvis Duran to Ryan Seacrest. Nobody does audio better, than iHeart.
So when you think about your potential future partner, which could be iHeart or someone else, what kind of support do you want? So you said they really provide great support for radio and audio. Is there something else that you need when it comes to a partner?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said earlier, when it comes to the marketing machine of iHeart and reaching the audio audience in all ways, whether it's radio or across podcasting, they have that down pat. When it comes to sales and bringing in, brand partnerships and advertisers across the Black Effect and audio programming, they're great at it. They're awesome at it. So, they have all of the great offerings that, can potentially say that we would love to stay with them. But, anything is, you never know.
Yeah, and we're a new company, so it's just like, we're constantly growing, constantly evolving, as the podcast game is constantly growing, constantly evolving. So you have to look at all of those different things. Yes, we are the largest audio company with iHeart, but then, there are so many other components that make up podcasting now. Like I said, the visual aspect is really big. So you have to, look at a partner and be with a partner that understands all of that.
Well, one thing you mentioned is like just the growth of your network, right? So you have the Black Effects Podcast Network. I think you said this year you're bringing in 20 new shows.
Yeah, so when we launched in 2020, we launched with about 20 shows. That was some existing partnerships from like All the Smoke, 85 South Drink Champs, some shows that are very familiar, Already Potting. And then we brought in, partnered with some talent, and we developed some shows with like Just Hilarious. There was a list of shows Ebony K. Williams, Teslin Figueroa, a list of shows that we launched in year one. Since then, we've been growing shows, bringing in some partnerships, developing some Black Effect originals. And this year we were just like, let's just go big. January, we were like, we're going to bring in about 20 new shows. We did just that. And we've launched about 15 of them across the slate so far. Yeah. So there's a few more that we're rolling out this year. A great feat, a big feat that was accomplished, and we're excited for it.
So what do you look for when it comes to new talent? Obviously each one of your podcasts is different. Each one of your talent is different. But what kind of, when you're adding on those new shows, what are you looking to bring into the fold?
Something that stands out, right? We're not nitpicking, it has to have this or be this perfect or it has to be this voice. Whatever stands out, whatever fills a gap is like, oh, we don't have that on the network. Or it could be interesting to bring them into the fold. So it's a variety of things, there's nothing specific. We're all about amplifying Black voices, but showing that we're not all the same. So we want to, make sure we amplify and elevate and say, hey, there's different perspectives to who we are, and here they are.
And you have to have people who really have something to say. For some reason, people looked at the podcast business and thought it was just some hey, this is a quick way to get rich,
No, sir.
But, if you're in the podcast business, no, there's only a select few of people that's actually really, really making a whole lot of money. So you have to do it because you love to do it. You have to have an intention behind, what it is you're doing every week on that podcast. And if you do that, then you'll probably have some success.
Are there any new areas, topics that you want to expand to? I know, you mentioned Drink Champs. There's just great, hip hop, content that you have. Is there any other, subgenres that you're excited about?
And alcohol connoisseurs. You can learn about some real good spirits on Drink Champs.
For sure. So beyond alcohol, hip hop, music, anything else?
All the genres. We have a literature podcast called Black Lit. It's a Black Effect original series where we dissect some of the most prolific Black authors. True crime podcast. We have mental health and wellness podcast. So we kind of check all of the boxes: relationships, religion, all of those things. It's a variety of voices that speak from a different perspective.
Yeah, I always tell people, Black people are not monolithic, right? But if you go tune into podcasts from the Black Effect Podcast Network and you listen to several different ones, you can get really close to knowing what is going on in the Black community.
One aspect that I know you guys have crushed is live events. And, as you noted, we have live event here. So I'm curious, I think it's that you've done your kind of flagship conference, but you also have one tied to HBCUs.
Yeah.
So walk me through why live events is an important part of your strategy.
That's where the real impact happens. We know we're impactful and our voices are impactful behind the microphone, right? But we also want to be in the community. I'm an HBCU graduate. I graduated from Winston-Salem State University. I understand the undeserved need and things that's needed in these universities and schools. So we developed, in partnership with one of our partners, our brand partners, a HBCU Summit, where we fly out 60 plus students and give them a weekend of career preparation. We have our tentpole event, which is our Black Effect Podcast Festival that we've done 3 years successfully in Atlanta. But that's where the impact happened. You see the change, you see the stuff that we're saying behind the microphone is actually becoming real in real time in real life.
That's right. I didn't go to college. I sold crack, right? For a little bit, little brief stint.
Sorry.
But it was enough. it was enough of a time that you realized the value of hand-to-hand, eye-to-eye engagement.
Yes.
I think sometimes we lose that in this social media era, right? Like you can get on social media and you think that it's a lot of people that hate you and hate what you're doing until you throw a live event and a lot of people come out. I bet you know, Axios, y'all go on Axios.com, it's a bunch of comments saying how much they hate the site, but then you have an event like this and you realize, oh, there's people that actually enjoy us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
know?
Yeah, I hope so. Well, okay, let's end the business talk. Let's talk politics.
I'm not in that conversation,
Okay,
so
if you
I
want-
can joke.
You can jump in. Charlamagne, you've interviewed such big name politicians, but I believe one you haven't interviewed is Donald Trump. Would you, if he wanted to go on the Breakfast Club, would you allow him to join? And what would be your first question?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a choice. He got the FCC in his pocket. Like, they'll be like, yeah, he didn't want us on.
Cancel.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a choice. But I mean, he's the president of the United States of America. Like, you still got to sit down and have a conversation with the president of the United States of America. And I come from, man, I was born in 1978. So I grew up on Donahue, Oprah Winfrey, Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters. They interviewed everybody. I was literally just having this conversation yesterday. They were interviewing Charles Manson. They interviewed Jeffrey Dahmer, and he ate people. So it's like,
They had like a 4-part special.
that's what I'm saying. So why wouldn't I talk to the president of the United States of America? That is so weird that we're in a time where media is like, no, I'm not talking to that person, or I'm not talking to this person. It's like, that is why we're all so disconnected as a society right now.
So what's your first question if he sits down with you?
I don't want to tell you. Then he'll be able to weave it. Like, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? But I do have I had a whole strategy for if he came during the campaign, but I would switch the strategy now to something else. But yeah, I have a way I would have a conversation with him.
Anything else to add, Dolly? But I know you didn't want to talk politics, but anything else you're excited by for the future of?
Yeah, we just crossed 5 years again, September 9th. We are excited for the growth and expansion of the podcast network, and we're hope to see, much bigger things in the next 5 years.
Awesome. Well, keep us updated. Thank you both for
Will
the
do.
time.
Thank you.